Have a little bit of pep in your step, man.
All right, Pod fans, we're back in the middle of the NHL Finals, and of course, we're going to be talking about Leaf free agency. What else would we talk about today? There were a couple big signings in Leafland. We had Jason Spezza sign a 1-year, $750,000 deal. Simmonds signed a 2-year, $900,000 deal. Two moves that kept two guys in house. Frank, what do you think of the moves?
Uh, I don't know. I tried to, give a brief. It hasn't really sunk in yet, only because the Spezza one was a no-brainer for me. I think we all, being Leaf fans, we all kind of expected that to come back. Looking for veteran leadership. He outproduced his contract total last year. Yeah, 30 points at a league minimum. That's, you can't ask for anything better than that. So bringing him back, no issues. I think he's still got a lot of game left. The Simmonds one caught me a little bit by surprise. I was okay with the Simmonds signing last year. I expected him to bring a little bit more physicality and what are the Brian Burke words there, truculence and belligerence and all those illigence, and but then he was going really well, and I think obviously when he broke his wrist, and he was never the same coming back. So was there enough in that small sample size where Kyle Dubas went to Shanahan and said, we got to bring this guy back? I don't know. What I am, if I had said, if I am happy about the signing, for those of you who don't know, Simmonds signed for obviously less than he made last year. So Simmonds signed last year at 1.5. They got him at under $1 million this year, so 900K. And why that's important is that money, if he were to be put on waivers or I guess down to the Marlies after waivers, that money actually doesn't count against the cap. So it's not it's a buried cap hit. So essentially, it's almost like Robida Island. So that 900K is just dead money. It actually doesn't count against their cap. And I think in order to do that, I bet Simmonds was probably looking at $1 million. Dubas said, "Listen, instead of that, I'll just give you 2 years. So if I have to bury you, you still get paid, but it doesn't hurt against our cap." So I think that's a positive thing. He's going to be a fourth line player who's obviously going to protect the guys because you got to think he's going to come back motivated. I just don't understand the timing. Nothing tells me that he's going to be in high demand on day one of free agency. He might, I don't know, he might be, but it kind of ends my hope for Corey Perry coming here after when he should have been here in the first place. But I think, Rob, to understand this is understand the narrative. I think there's a couple things. There's really two ways of looking at it. One is, and it's going back to your point when you made it on a couple of earlier episodes, they actually think this team is good enough. The way it's situated right now, we're bringing the band back together. We're bringing Spezza back. We're bringing Simmonds back. They're a Hyman signing away from essentially bringing back, top 9 forwards. And you have to think to yourself, okay, the core 4, if they're not going to go anywhere, it's the other pieces around you that probably need a change. But it's pretty again, the narrative is we're bringing back the guys because we think we have a shot at this. We have a shot. It was a bad 3 games and 5 nights. We want to run this team back out there because we like what we had out there. So that's one narrative. So either on one side of the fence to say, yeah, bring most of this team back. And listen, I was actually listening today that there's a chance that Freddie Anderson could be back on a deal that's a lot less than he was making, and he's okay with sharing the net. That's not a good idea. That just goes to tell me that there's a click in that room. If you guys remember the old Muskoka 5, this is the same thing of probably Matthews or Marner saying you got to bring Freddie back. Freddie, stay for another year. Prove yourself on a 1 or 2 year deal for $3 million. There are better goalies, younger goalies that you got to turn the page. His injury history, he's getting older, so I'm hoping that doesn't happen. And Campbell doesn't need to look over his shoulder. You know what I mean? It just needs, It's just a different dynamic, right? Yeah. So that's one. The second narrative is with expansion coming, with the flat cap, there's probably guys that Dubas is targeting to say, and I'll take a perfect example, Barkley Goodrow, Tampa Bay is going to be a free agent. He's not making much. I think he's making $950 right now. Tampa spent the first round pick on him. There's a pretty good chance they're going to let him go because they need to cap for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
A team's going to look at him to say, shoot, I'd love to have a guy like that. Maybe wins 2 cups in 2 years, I hope. And he said to himself, you know what, that guy deserves a raise. Dubas probably has him penciled in at 1.2, 1.3 as a number. Somebody gives him 1.7, 1.8, maybe 2 million. They lose out on Goodrow. So who's the plan B? You know what I mean? So they're getting outbid for guys that they have targeted. So why not bring guys back that you know that will fit at a cap that they can manage? So it's almost like, Spezza and Simmonds are coming in. And then if you guys remember last year, right before the season started, Dubas started going on a spree, signing VC, signing these other guys, Boyd, these guys at minimum contracts, and they all fought for a job. So now knowing that they can bury Simmonds' contract, and they go on a spending spree, it's possible. But I think the other side of the fence is we don't want to get outbid on the market and left really kind of, well, there's a saying, but I'm not going to say it, but holding something in your hands, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't think they want to get caught over, get into a bidding war and then losing out on it. They rather go with the devil they know. So there's really 2 narratives here. I just question the timing. That's all. So it's interesting. And I think there's more to come because with expansion coming out, actually Alex Kerfoot is due another $2 million in a couple days. So if they're okay paying that signing bonus out to Alex Kerfoot, what do they do with him there? Is that $3.5 million they want back? There's just a lot of questions going in. And maybe the Simmonds signing was a directive of how they're going to go for the expansion draft. It's either the 7-3-1 or, signing protecting the any 10 skaters type of, or sorry, any 8 skaters. I don't know. It's just I'm just very curious on the timing.
I believe what you were talking about is musical chairs. They don't want to be left without a seat at the.
That's a better one than the one I was going to come up with.
Yeah,
the one I was going to come up with probably would have got me cut off.
Was going to be it wasn't going to be kid friendly, that's for sure.
No, so none of our videos are.
So before I talk about you had the 2 kind of narratives. First, I'm going to talk about the 2 moves. First of all, yeah, they're in-house guys, so you know what you're getting out of these guys. I agree with everything you said about Spezza. He's been impressive so far in the playoffs. And I'm trying to think of a guy that I feel like he was hated probably 15 years ago, not because he was a bad player. I think everybody really liked Jason Spezza, but it was that he was on the Sens. And I think a lot of Leaf fans at that time said, we're never going to have a Sens guy on our team. And man, has he changed that narrative. So that was a no-brainer. And at that number, no doubt, Jason Spezza, good on you. The Wayne Simmonds one was also a little odd for me. Now, the 2 years, 9, you brought up a good point with being able to bury him. I like Wayne Simmonds. I thought that the Leafs needed a bunch of guys like that. The only problem is in the playoffs, I don't know if it was because of an injury. He didn't really play like he should have. Like there was times where I thought the Leafs were getting taken advantage of, and that's when you need a guy like Wayne Simmonds who is fearless, who is tough, to step in there. Now he had if you would know better than I do. I believe he had a hand injury this year.
Yeah, he broke his wrist.
So
off his shot.
My question is, maybe he went into that playoffs without 100%. He wasn't 100%, and he said, "I'm not fighting. I just my wrist will not allow it." And so I'm okay with giving him another shot. I know another Simmonds doesn't like that signing. Steve Simmonds doesn't like it. I've been tracking him. He doesn't like it. And he's like, well, he hasn't scored. He's only got 1 goal in 24 games. All right, listen, I know you need depth scoring, but Wayne Simmonds isn't there to score. He's there to use his hands for other reasons. And he brings a lot of sandpaper. And so if you're expecting him to score, maybe he'll chip in with a goal here and there. But the guy's there to be a tough, intimidating player. So on to your 2 narratives, and I'm going to talk to part 2 is a definite. It could have been for that reason, but part 1 was really interesting for me. Do they think they're right there? Because I don't think they're right there, but I wonder, given that I like to look into narratives and I like to look way too deep into stuff, I'm interested to hear your opinion. Do you think that maybe the success of the Montreal Canadiens, saying we were 1 game, or we basically had them down 3-1 against the team that went to the Stanley Cup Finals. I wonder if the Montreal Canadiens have influenced the Maple Leafs brass to say, maybe we are right there, which I would disagree. If they look at it in that respect, I think that is a mistake.
If that's the case, fire them now.
But do you think maybe let's say Montreal plays Winnipeg and they go out in 4 straight or whatever, and this kind of Montreal run ends? Do you think maybe that Montreal has made the Leafs brass say, "Hey, wow, you know what? Look what Montreal did to Vegas. Look what they did to Vancouver or Winnipeg. Maybe we're a lot closer than we think." That's my question to you.
You know what, Rob? I'm gonna say no, only because the styles are just so different. If this was, say, I don't know, the Islanders, who have a similar style to Montreal, think they're the better team, and think, well, like that style can win, then I would think, okay, yeah, we're right there. We just, a small tweak, we're good. The Leafs play such a different style. I'd say more to like Tampa Bay. They're not like Tampa Bay. I said the style is more like Tampa Bay.
Right.
And I think that's the model that they see themselves after. So I don't think Montreal has as much of an influence. I honestly think Dubas is looking at this and saying, man, if Marner just had some better luck, or if Matthews just doesn't hit the post, if my aunt had ball, she'd be my uncle type of idea, right? So I think it's that narrative. And judging by that press conference, that's what it sounded like. And Shanahan said it himself too. Depth wasn't our problem. So unless he's alluding to some bad puck luck, goes back to the first narrative, there's a good chance we're going to see this team right back saying that they think they are good enough to compete. And Rob, how much have we talked about this? That division, you thought it was tough 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's going to be a murderer's row this year, that's for sure. You got anything else you want to add? Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and Ottawa's coming up the rear. It's not Montreal I'm worried about. And Rob, I'll give you credit. And I really don't like doing this because the last ego I want to pump is yours.
Nobody does. Don't worry.
The Ottawa Senators are going to be a team, and they give everybody fits, but they give the Leafs fits the style that they play, that Columbus style, that say even the Montreal style. But Ottawa is coming, man, and that style is. I think that's more of a way that we would like to see our team play. So, it's just a different contrasting style. So. No, for me, Rob, it's just it's funny because we look at the Stanley Cup final, regardless of who's in it, and we just want it over with because we're more intrigued by the offseason than we are by what's going on right now, right? So I just think something's up here. I think something's got to change, and I'm looking at the Morgan Riley situation very closely. They have had talks with Dubas, and there's growing concern there that the narrative's got to change too. We can't keep letting guys walk for nothing. So it's either we sign them to a 7-8 year deal at a certain number to get it down, or sorry, buddy, you got to go. Yeah. I think that would be the first domino that is going to fall. I think it's him, then Hyman.
Well, it's going to be an interesting offseason to track that. The Leafs have a lot of ways to go. I'm not sleeping on the fact that Montreal's influencing all this. For all the Leaf fans out there listening, let us know what you think. Did you like the moves? Did you not like the moves? Is maybe Montreal pushing the Leafs brass to do this? Either way, like and subscribe this video. Like, subscribe. We're going to do a lot more content like this. But Frank, let's get out of here on that note.
Hey, I'm in Tampa. I'm enjoying this, man. All right, but see you.